I just want you to know that I always play by the rules. But you're never gonna see me there again.
When Gary Lennon and the other writers and I were mapping out our third season, we saw that we were telling a complete story and that this was the perfect opportunity to stay true to our artistic vision and make this the final chapter in Tommy's journey in Chicago. But don't worry, Tommy's journey is far from over with. We're just getting warmed up and I can't wait to show you what we have planned next.
Power Book 4 Force may be coming to an end after Season 3, and it might be the final chapter in Tommy's journey in Chicago. But I say final chapter because there is still so much more to come. Gary Lennon and Joseph Sikora have made no secret, Tommy's journey is far from over. It might potentially be over in Chicago come the end of Season 3 of Force, but in terms of Tommy Egan as a character, there is still so much more to come. Now the beauty of Gary Lennon, Joseph Sikora, and the rest of the cast and crew knowing it was the final season of Force is that it has allowed them to map out the journey of the season in the right way. They're able to have a fitting end to this particular chapter in Chicago, as well as enabling them to set up whatever they have planned next. For example, if they don't intend to take Miguel Garcia's, Jannard, Diamond, or JP storyline any forward into the next chapter, those are just to name a few characters, then they have the opportunity to close off their storyline in the right way during the course of Season 3, whether it be death, jail, being on the run, or maybe even leaving a question mark around their fate, which leaves the door open for them to appear later on in a Power spin-off. With them knowing that this was going to be the final chapter, they can really go out with a big bang. But in the rest of this video, we're going to take a look at the potential release date for Season 3. We're then going to run through a very brief recap of what happened at the end of Force Season 2, just to refresh everybody's memory. We're then going to take a look at the theme and storyline predictions for Season 3, and also discuss whether or not Tariq St Patrick could potentially make an appearance in Power Book 4 Force Season 3. Now first things first, when will Season 3 actually be released? Will it be this year after Ghost, or will it be in 2025? Now in my opinion, I think early next year makes the most logical sense. Gary Lennon posted a few pictures up on social media, where he not only thanked the entire cast and crew, but where he also said, "Till we ride again, and we will, #2025. So, we all know they've just finished filming, but they still have to edit, chop up the scenes and episodes, and also add the music and effects in. There's so much that goes into post-production, and sometimes they even have to bring the actors back in for ADR to add in or replace some of their dialogue. So, I'm not too sure they'll have everything done in time for them to premiere this year. I think early next year, maybe around January, is probably most likely, which could mean we see a teaser or trailer in December, just before Christmas.
Christmas is cancelled.
Now, what does that actually mean for Raising Kanan Season 4? I think March or April probably sound just about right, but let's wait and see, because things can change very quickly in the world of TV. Season 4 of Raising Kanan also finished filming a long time ago, and I think they're probably in a much more advanced position than for Season 3. We know there's not going to be a Ghost Season 5 or a 4 Season 4, so the order could actually very well change, because I would assume Raising Kanan Season 4 would be a lot more further ahead in terms of its post-production. But that's just some general thoughts in terms of 4 Season 3 and Raising Kanan Season 4, based on what they've done in the past. It could potentially be January and March, but things can definitely change. In terms of Raising Kanan Season 4, I did promise an update and a breakdown in terms of predictions and theories, so that will be on my to-do list over the next week. But with that being said, let's run through a brief recap in terms of the ending of Season 2, and where we are with each player and storyline. After losing Gloria, being betrayed by his own sister, and getting rid of his father, we all know Vic Flynn turned snitch. But it was in episodes 9 and 10 where Tommy began to learn Vic was a rat within the CBI, who was providing intel to Stacey Marks. Considering Tommy knew, he tricked Vic about the location for a meet, and screwed up law enforcement's plan of catching him in a drug deal. Instead, they got Claudia and the Serbian network, also thanks to Shanti betraying Claudia. It was a win for law enforcement, but not the win that Stacey Marks had hoped. She wanted Tommy Egan at all and any costs. She wasn't even fazed by the fact that they suffered yet another loss of one of their own, which did begin to cause issues with Agent DeFranco and Stacey Marks. Vic was also still at risk as he was being held at the warehouse by the CBI, so it was a race to get to him. Will Stacey Marks be able to save her CI, or will the CBI do what needs to be done? That was one of the major problems between Diamond and Tommy. They disagreed on a lot of things across Season 2, especially in regards to Tommy making decisions without Diamond, and I do think that will be a central theme for season 3, especially considering Tommy's focus will be on finding Maria, who was taken by her brother Miguel Garcia. Love was in the air for Tommy in season 2, and just before they could jet off to Barcelona, things took a turn, which will reignite the fire between Tommy and Miguel. It was made clear that Tommy was coming for his position under Shay, so he tried to have Tommy taken off the chessboard, but when that failed, Tommy met with Shay to position himself under the cartel. His initial plan was to push Miguel Garcia out, but out of respect for everything that the Garcias have done for Shay, he only allowed CBI to take over the Serbs' territory after the arrest of Markovic, also warning both Tommy and Miguel they can compete, but without any bloodshed. After all, healthy competition would fill all their pockets, but as I mentioned before, Maria being taken will definitely complicate things in more ways than one. Another plot that will complicate things for Tommy is Janard and Shanti's betrayal. Ever since Shanti's arrival, she wasn't just working with Janard to take over the CBI, she was actually the one who was leading the operation, especially when Janard turned to drugs. Shanti was the one who stepped in to help Jay get back on track, and also helped him to get back on Diamond and Tommy's good side. Meanwhile with Shanti, she was working to gain Tommy's trust, and as she helped Tommy get Claudia, Tommy's trust in Shanti has been steadily growing, which could definitely be a problem, especially considering she was the one who sent the picture of Tommy and Maria to Miguel Garcia. Just like Kanan in Power, even though she was helping Tommy, she's never lost sight of her end goal, take over the CBI. Now in terms of Claudia, we all saw how she was hit in prison. Whether she's actually dead, we are going to get to that in just a second. Elsewhere, let's not forget, D-Mac also killed Mad Dog, who was a nephew of King Kilo, which could cause issues for the CBI, because it was implied he was supposed to be released from prison fairly soon, and no doubt, he would want to seek retribution. There was also Kate who suffered a relapse, which was due to the fact she thought D-Mac was dead, which caused a lot of tension between JP and Tommy. Tommy may have made huge strides in taking over the drug trade in Chicago, but at what cost? D-Mac was back in the streets. His relationship with Kate and JP is very fragile. Maria's gone, and he also has issues with Diamond, Janard, Shanti, and also Miguel Garcia. Now the theme that Gary Lennon has teased for Power Book 44 Season 3 is blood being thicker than water, a message to convey that family relationships and bonds are stronger and more important than any other type of relationships. He also teased the following: we've taken every single character that we have on the chessboard and we brought them to where their back is against the wall, and a couple of things happen which he didn't want to give away, but it's about who will live and who will die, and they will answer that question in Season 3. So with that being said, it brings us nicely onto the question in regards to Claudia Flynn. Is she really alive, or is she actually dead? I do think the writers love playing this game when it comes to power. We've recently seen them do it with Lauren, and we've seen what they've done with Unique, as well as with countless of other characters such as Felipe Lobos, and a few more. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Claudia could actually be alive. I personally hope she isn't, not just because she's the one who killed Liliana, but there were countless of betrayals from her character, and frankly, she's just a snake, and someone who's done that much has to go. I do believe she has earned her death. It's also the final season of Force, so I don't think they're going to be afraid to kind of take the gloves off. But, as I said before, funnier things have happened in the Power universe, and I'm sure it is something that they will clear up in 301. Now sticking with the Flynns, what happens next with Vic? At this moment in time, he's being watched by Bones and Raheem of the CBI, with Stacey Marks making her move to try and save him. But does Tommy cancel Christmas, or is there another twist to the story? Now I have been keeping close tabs on social media, and it does seem like Vic Flynn will be going deep into Season 3. At this moment in time, it really is hard to see how, especially considering he is a snitch. But again, funnier things have happened in Power, and we all know how Andre Coleman defied all the odds and survived right until the end of Power, where his Christmas was then cancelled by 2-Bit and Spanky. But what they do with his story arc if he does survive, who knows? There is an air of mystery about this one, just like Claudia. Now, one of the major conflicts that will be at the heart of Season 3 will be Tommy Egan versus Miguel Garcia. Tommy and the CBI have become connects under Shay, which means they're now direct rivals of Miguel Garcia, and it will hurt the Insane Princes in more ways than one. The CBI were Miguel Garcia's biggest customers, and so that alone is going to leave a huge void to fill, which is something we have to keep in mind. Tommy's organization makes up more than half of Chicago, and that's huge. He's already taken over the Serbian territory, and no doubt, he's going to have his eyes on Miguel's next. But will the disappearance of Maria distract Tommy from achieving his end goal? That's the big question.
Barcelona.
Barcelona? Was that your fantasy place?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, the weather, the siestas, the matadors, and they speak Spanish there, you know.
It's going to drive him crazy, not being able to find Maria, and it's only going to cause more tension between not just him and Miguel, but also him and Diamond. Now, just before we actually come to this potential conflict and rift with Diamond, I also wouldn't be surprised if we see some parallels to what we've just seen in Go Season 4, in terms of the storyline with Tariq and Diana. One of the factors which saved Diana was the fact she was pregnant, and I do wonder whether that could actually be a possibility for Maria. There were a few references to kids in Season 2, and then there was also Holly's hallucination. We also know Tommy is big on love and big on family, and I do wonder if she could actually be pregnant, which could actually give Tommy an alternative perspective on life, and kind of a new challenge in his next chapter, having to protect Maria and his baby. So it is definitely just something to kind of ponder as we head into Season 3. Now, in regards to this conflict with Diamond, Season 2 did plant the seeds of a major confrontation between the two. Tommy was moving very similar to how Ghost was moving in Power, making moves behind Diamond's back, which didn't go down well with Diamond. In Season 3, when Tommy begins to shift his focus over to Maria, because he will, no doubt Tommy will take his eye off the streets to try and find his love. It's also going to cause some conflict and tension with Diamond, especially considering he warned him from the beginning.
Maria, she off limits. What you talking about? Man, stay away from her. The graveyard is packed with guys that made the same mistake.
Jannard and Diamond have also been rebuilding their bond after their father's death, and I don't know if they're going to be stronger than ever, but they are working on rebuilding their relationship. But with the theme kind of being blood being thicker than water, you would have to think whether that would kind of play a role in this conflict with Tommy, especially considering Jannard and Shanti are working to dethrone Tommy and Diamond as the head of the CBI. Shanti's also been planting the seeds from very early on with Jay, and her eventual end goal is to take out both Tommy and Diamond. But again, with blood being thicker than water, will Jannard eventually turn on Shanti to save his brother? I think he will. I personally feel the downfall of Shanti will come at the hands of Jay, because when push comes to shove, if Jannard has to pick Diamond or Shanti, I personally think he's going to pick his brother. Now moving on to D-Mac, I do feel like this is another huge problem. Not only did he make a very reckless move in killing Mad Dog in broad daylight, he also escaped from Great Shaw's youth academy. We then saw something very similar to what we saw with Tariq in Power. But is he ready to live by the gun and die by the gun? Because that's the path he seems to be heading down, and we all know it's a path that just doesn't end well. Tommy's tried to warn D-Mac before, because he's seen what happened with his other nephew in Tariq, but I think it's too late. D-Mac grew up in the streets, and the streets is all he knows. And I think Tommy's best option is to keep D-Mac close and teach him the game, so to speak. Because if he doesn't, D-Mac is going to do what he's going to do regardless. So, if I were in Tommy's shoes, I'd try and keep him close as possible, because sending him to Great Shores hasn't worked, trying to discipline him hasn't worked, trying to talk sense into him hasn't worked either, so I do feel there's only actually one option left. Now, on D-Mac actually killing Mad Dog, there is another plot we do have to consider. Mad Dog was a nephew of King Kilo, who was said to be coming out of prison pretty soon. Jannard went to visit him where he said he was happy to give up D-Mac, a plan which Diamond was on board with, so this could be a huge problem. However, Glenn Davis, who plays King Kilo, did find himself in trouble in regards to a NBA healthcare fraud scheme. Whether that could actually change this particular plot and storyline, you would have to assume it would. So, there is actually a big question mark over what they actually do with this one. But regardless, with D-Mac, there certainly is big issues ahead, and with or without this storyline with King Kilo, I still expect him to play more of a role, along with his partner in crime, Marshall. Now elsewhere, there's also this family dynamic between Tommy, Kate, and JP. Where do they leave this storyline with the family in Chicago? And could they actually follow Tommy into his next chapter? Or could Tommy actually create a safe environment and a place for them to be in before he heads off to wherever he goes? I think Tommy will try his best. Despite what him and Kate have been through, despite JP closing the door on him, he's someone who will never give up on family. So, let's see where they end this story arc in regards to this family dynamic. Now with law enforcement, as Power fans, we're always talking about how law enforcement never get wins in the world of Power, which did actually change in Season 2. Stacey Marks got Claudia Flynn and Merkovich, two big scalps, but can they actually take it one step further? I think it's going to be very difficult. But Stacey Marks is a determined individual who will push the boundaries, and just as an early prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if she pushes the boundaries so far that she loses her husband in the process as a result of her actions. Now over to Tariq St Patrick. This one is a really intriguing potential storyline, because some of you guys will remember a while ago I mentioned Michael Rainey Jr. was back in the office at Lionsgate. The big question was, why was he back in the office after Ghost had been cancelled? Could it have been to do with a new spin-off? Was it to do with potential reshoots, or the direction they're taking his character, Tariq, post-Ghost Season 4? Well, recently Michael Rainey Jr. did post a few snaps on his social media, with him being back in his Tariq hut, and it was around the time where they were finishing up episode 10 of 4 Season 3, which does make me wonder, could Tariq actually show up in Chicago towards the end of Season 3? At this moment in time, there is really an air of mystery in terms of what's next, not just for Tommy Egan post-Force, but also for Tariq post-Ghost. We all know Ghost was cancelled abruptly, although there is conflicting reports in regards to Ghost cancellation. Michael Rainey Jr. in some interviews said he had no idea, but with The Breakfast Club, Michael Rainey Jr. did confirm, during the filming of Season 4, they had no idea Season 4 was going to be the last. He did find out after, but while they were filming, none of them had any idea. Soon after the news broke, he took a page out of 50's book and started to cause a bit of chaos on social media. It really was straight out of 50's playbook. For us as the audience, I guess we can only kinda wait and see. But all this speculation does tie in nicely with my theory, or little prediction in terms of them potentially merging Ghost and Force together, and having Tommy and Tariq unite. Could they potentially have Tariq cross over to Chicago, right at the very end of Season 3, where they then set up the next chapter of Power? How they make that happen, who knows? At the end of the day, this is Power, and if they want to find a way, they definitely will. And in my opinion, if the next show is going to be centered around Tommy and Tariq being together in a new city, then it does make sense to have Tariq crossover right at the end of 4 Season 3, where they then tease that next potential chapter. They need to lay the groundwork in the final moments of 4 Season 3, just like they did in OG Power, when it was said that Tommy was on his way to LA. If Tariq is joining him, then they need to lay the groundwork for him to start alongside Tommy in the new Power show. Or, if they're only going to have Tariq making a cameo appearance, which you would have to assume would happen regardless in a new Power spin-off, I think Tommy and Tariq will meet again at some point, but if they do, they also need to lay the groundwork and explain where Tariq has been, what's he been up to, why has he crossed over to come and see Tommy. There definitely are a lot of ways in which they can kind of spin this, so whether Tariq shows up in Force or not, whether the next show is centered around Tommy and Tariq, I'm still expecting the two to meet again at some point in the future, even if it's just a cameo appearance, where Tariq comes back and helps Tommy on a mission. I'd really love to see both of them working together. It's something I went through in a lot more detail in this particular breakdown, which I will leave the link to down below in the description section. In that particular breakdown, I also explored what the dynamic could look like in terms of Tommy and Tariq team, with them running the streets together. But Tommy teaching Tariq and maybe also D-Mac, having both of them under his wing at some point in the future. You know Tariq and D-Mac just also have to cross paths. So let's wait and see what Gary Lennon has up his sleeve, because he'll definitely be playing a huge role in the development of the next Power show. And you would have to assume he might have a conversation or two with Michael Rainey Jr., even if it is for a brief cameo. But drop all your early thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section for all things 4 Season 3. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.